Squidward.
Don't hold back.
The absolute scariest thing about growing up is realizing that you relate more and more to Squidward Tentacles every day. He's grumpy, hates people, and gets annoyed by his over-enthusiastic neighbors that won't leave him alone. Sounds like adulthood to us, yep. Even though Squidward is the underwater equivalent of Debbie Downer, there are still plenty of times when he's proven to be actually a nice, chill dude. Today we're gonna look at some of the best times Squidward showed off his nice side in Spongebob Squarepants. So hold on to your jellyfish nets, because we're getting into it right now. The Pie Bomb Incident. You just can't trust pirates to sell you authentic homemade pies anymore. No, today there's a high risk that the delicious baked good you buy from an eye-patched, peg-legged Jack Sparrow type actually turns out to be filled with explosives. That's what happened in the episode Dying for Pie, which saw Squidward scrambling to find a homemade gift for SpongeBob for Employee Brotherhood Day. Even though SpongeBob gave him the nicest gift of all time, a sweater made of eyelashes, Squidward didn't want to return the favor, so he purchased a pie from a bunch of pirates to give to SpongeBob. He only found out about its explosive flavor after SpongeBob seemingly ate it, with Mr. Krabs giving SpongeBob until sunset before it went off. It was here that we saw one of Squidward's finest moments, where the grumpy curmudgeon spent the day doing everything SpongeBob wanted to do to try to give him the perfect last day, even doing insane things like greeting everyone in town, wearing his salmon suit, and letting SpongeBob perform open-heart surgery on him. Talk about a nice guy going above and beyond for his friend. Great customer service. In the episode Pizza Delivery, Squidward and SpongeBob embark on an epic quest to deliver a pizza after Mr. Krab lies and said the Krusty Krab delivers pizza to make a quick buck, sending Squidward to deliver it. Of course, SpongeBob insists he tags along and everything quickly descends into chaos. Because SpongeBob is about as capable of driving a boat as Patrick is at winning a Nobel Prize in physics, he gets them lost in the middle of nowhere, forcing the two on a series of mishaps like attempting to hitchhike, getting caught in an underwater tornado, and fighting off hunger. Squidward wants to eat the pizza, but SpongeBob insists they finish their job and deliver it to the customer. After everything, they finally make it, but the customer rudely gets angry about them forgetting his drink and refuses to pay or take the pizza. This breaks SpongeBob, and Squidward fights back, slamming the pizza into the customer's face before comforting the crying sponge by lying and saying the customer changed his mind and ate it all in one bite. Squidward TENTACLAUS saves the day. Squidward has always shown the capacity for compassion, but it usually comes after realizing what a massive jerk he's been. This is incredibly apparent in the Christmas Who episode, which sees Sandy teach the residents of Bikini Bottom all about Christmas traditions, and the Jolly Red Fellow who gives presents to all the good girls and boys. All at once, all of Bikini Bottom becomes obsessed with Christmas and immediately sends letters to Santa. Well, everyone except one Mr. Squidward Tentacles. He finds the whole thing stupid and refuses to take part in any of the festivities, no matter how much SpongeBob tries to warm his cold, cold heart. Of course, when Christmas Day comes around, the whole town is devastated to find out that Santa never came. No one is more heartbroken than SpongeBob, and although Squidward laughs at him at first, he's shocked to discover SpongeBob got him a really heartfelt present. Feeling terrible, Squidward dresses up like Santa and gives away all his possessions to the residents of Bikini Bottom. It's by far the nicest thing Squidward has ever done. The ultimate prankster. Squidward is the type of guy who doesn't understand the nature of a good prank. Clearly, SpongeBob is the king of April Fool's Day with his hilarious pranks involving things like an excessive number of ice cubes in a customer's drink. After being annoyed at all of SpongeBob's pranks throughout the day, Squidward vows to show SpongeBob what a real prank should be. Using a cleverly placed blob of mustard, Squidward goes way too far by basically tying SpongeBob up, sending him flying around the Krusty Krab, and slamming him into a trash can. SpongeBob runs away crying while the rest of the customers berate Squidward for taking things too far. Of course, Squidward eventually goes to apologize to SpongeBob, but he apologizes so infrequently, he literally has trouble saying the words. Captain Magma to the rescue. Spongeheads, which is what we call die-hard SpongeBob fans, know that in the latest SpongeBob feature film, Squidward gained superpowers and became known as Sour Note. But we all know Squidward's best time as a superhero came in the episode Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, which saw Squidward take on the mantle of Captain Magma after Barnacle Boy turns to the dark side. Sure, he was initially reluctant to join, but he soon seemed to grow fond of his new heroic personality. Too bad things went sideways really quickly, and they were mostly all Squidward's fault. He accidentally shoots lava on top of SpongeBob, which almost ruins the whole mission. As nice as it was to see Squidward act like a hero, maybe he should stick to playing the clarinet, huh? The imaginary avalanche. Squidward might be the most unimaginative person in all of Bikini Bottom. We'd say he shows shut off from imagination. It's like he lives under a rock. but we feel like that's an insult to Patrick. We all remember how painful it was to watch Squidward try to blow bubbles, but it was just as sad to see Squidward prefer to sit inside and watch his new, gigantic Ultra television when there was a perfectly good box sitting outside. At first, Squidward doesn't believe SpongeBob and Patrick could be having that much fun with just an empty box in their imagination, thinking all the crazy, deafening sound effects were just some stupid tricks. But when he kicks the box, seemingly causing an avalanche inside, Squidward is quick to lift the box up and try to save SpongeBob and Patrick. It's a quick moment, but it shows that deep down, Squidward does care for his friends. Things only get better for Squidward as he eventually realizes the true power of his imagination, much to his joy. Sure, his imaginative fantasy of driving a race car seems to come to life, but in reality, we see that the box is being picked up by a garbage truck. But it's still really nice to see Squidward so happy. Bye, Squidward! Good times at the MAKEOUT Reef. We already mentioned Squidward's heroic time in the spotlight, but one thing that gets overlooked in the Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5 episode, besides Barnacle Boy that is Squidward's fond memories of MAKEOUT Reef and all that happens there. When the good guy superhero team learns from the chief that the villains are heading to MAKEOUT Reef, Squidward smiles and remembers the place with a huge dopey grin. Does this mean that Squidward used to frequent this special makeout spot when he was younger? If so, then with whom? Or was he just one of those creepy guys who just showed up by himself? Ugh, we don't even want to think about that. Squidward never seems to remember anything that isn't his clarinet with that sort of happy inflection. So is there a past that we're unaware of? Can you imagine a young Squidward Tentacles bringing a girl to MAKEOUT Reef? Or like some people seem to do, bring a pillow? It opens up a whole new can of mysteries about Squidward Tentacles. Maybe he was just an all-around lady killer in high school. You never know. He does have 6 tentacles after all, which are really the best tools to fluff up any pillow you might bring to MAKEOUT Reef. Fear makes the heart grow fonder. During the graveyard shift, anything can happen. Red becomes blue, cats become dogs, and you come face to face with your own mortality. At least that's our experience working graveyard shifts. But something similar happens in the graveyard shift episode, which sees Mr. Krab continue his greedy streak by turning the Krusty Krab into a 24-hour establishment. Although happy at the ability to do chores at night, SpongeBob has a fear of the outside darkness, which Squidward takes advantage of. He tells SpongeBob a story about the hash-slinging slasher, a former fry cook at the Krusty Krab who wants vengeance after he accidentally chopped off his own hand and replaced it with a rusty spatula. First of all, there are a million other tools that would work better than a rusty spatula, like a hook or a chainsaw, but that's just us. Even though it started off as a joke, it soon looks like the hash-slashing slasher is real and is tormenting Squidward and SpongeBob. After a mysterious spatula-handed figure starts approaching the Krusty Krab, both SpongeBob and Squidward freak out. It's in our gravest moments that we reveal our true feelings, and this is no exception. Squidward tells SpongeBob that he always sorta liked him, which in Squidward language is basically declaring best friendship. A shocking change of heart. Sometimes all you need to become nice is a good attitude, a level temperament, and 10,000 volts of pure electricity delivered straight to you. In the episode Breath of Fresh Squidward, Squidward tries to build an electric fence to keep SpongeBob and Patrick out. But someone should have told him building an electric fence underwater is just a terrible idea. Squidward gets electrocuted, but doesn't immediately become calamari. Instead, that little thunderstorm that occurs in his mind whenever he sees SpongeBob suddenly turns into a rainbow, which makes Squidward into a nice person. It's a treat to see Squidward act like SpongeBob for once, meaning being willing to help out SpongeBob with his work and generally just caring about his job. But like the old saying goes, this underwater town just ain't big enough for 2 incredibly nice personalities. Squidward's newfound niceness starts affecting SpongeBob in ways we never expect. And once SpongeBob loses out on Employee of the Month for the first time in like a billion years, the yellow sponge soon starts acting like mean Squidward in a rare role reversal. Eventually, Squidward is electrocuted again and goes back to his normal grumpy self, but it proves that maybe some electroshock therapy is exactly what Squidward needs in his life. The extremely grateful freeloader. How come we all can't live in Bikini Bottom, where apparently a job as a cashier at a fast food restaurant makes enough to afford an entire house on prime beachfront property? That's the biggest question after Can You Spare a Dime? But it's also a good example of a grateful Squidward, who was unleashed on the world after he lost everything. After Mr. Krabs accuses Squidward of stealing his first dime, Squidward quits, determined to do something else with his life like sell his paintings. But apparently the job outlook in Bikini Bottom is hard, or his previous cash register experience isn't enough to get him a job anywhere else, because Squidward soon becomes homeless, living in a box and eating his paintings to survive. Of course, SpongeBob takes mercy on him and lets Squidward stay with him until he gets back on his feet. At first, Squidward is completely grateful about the help that his friend is giving him and looks like he'll soon bounce back. Unfortunately, he eventually turns into a nightmare roommate and expects SpongeBob to wait on him hand and foot, sometimes while wearing French maid outfit. Sure, he turns into a monster, but let's not forget how happy Squidward was not to be homeless thanks to his kind neighbor. Well, that's our video about all the times Squidward was actually a pretty chill guy. If only SpongeBob didn't annoy him so much. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave a comment below with your favorite Squidward moment. Also, don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more awesome SpongeBob content just like this. See you next time.